Hey guys, All in Crypto here, and welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, for another YouTube video. Hopefully you've all had a wonderful weekend. It's been a trying weekend for the cryptocurrency market, and that is what we're going to be getting into in this video. I believe Bitcoin got down to your 17K range. Last night, I mean, it was really brutal sell pressure that we saw last night. And often you get these kind of dumps on weekends. It can work the other way. You can get, real volatile moves to the upside, just given how low liquidity and order books can be on weekends. And we know there's a lot going on in the crypto space. We're seeing VC funds getting liquidated left, right, and center. This, of course, is having a knock-on effect of the price of Bitcoin and your other cryptocurrency market assets. I'm not convinced that the bottom is in. It's something that we've been talking about for a while now on the channel. And given the kind of macro landscape, can still definitely see more downside for Bitcoin and the crypto space over the coming months. Now, one thing that's important to remember is it's often in downtrends, you can have these really harsh rallies, and we haven't really seen much relief for Bitcoin really since March. So that is always still on the cards. But when I look at the kind of macro landscape, guys, it's a very doom and gloom picture, something that we've been talking about consistently on the channel. And we're still going to maintain a cautious bias moving forwards. But I've got quite a lot to talk to you guys about in this video. I'm going to be playing a clip of Jerome Powell talking about crypto and talking about the FedNow system, which is essentially the CBDC system that they're going to put in place. You know, we've been very doom and gloom on the cryptocurrency market. And the reason being is because I'm just telling you what I see in regards to price. But people always forget that there is fundamental reasons to be exceptionally bullish on blockchain. It really is a technological revolution. I understand that people get very frustrated and lose interest in these markets, but we are so early in blockchain adoption and we have so much to come. And even though the prices for not just Bitcoin, but the cryptocurrency market are doing what they're doing, one thing I always pay attention to is who's building, who's deploying capital, and who's thriving even in a downtrending market where things are very doom and gloom and interest is quite low. And that's something you want to pay attention to. You guys know we've got a list of altcoins on our Patreon that we're looking at. And we're going to keep expanding this as we go on. So we're really going to start the video off by looking at these comments from Jerome Powell. Bitcoin essentially, in the morning, dropped $12,000 in under $1,200 in under 90 seconds. So this is liquidations really taking place. And towards the end of the video, guys, I really want to go back over the point I raised in yesterday's video talking about Bitcoin miners, because they're now at a stage where they're actually getting unprofitable. So the amount of energy they have to put into mine Bitcoin isn't, those expenses are higher than what they're actually going to make out of it. Bitcoin miners will not mine if it is unprofitable. You do see typically, actually, quite a lot of miners will hold some of their Bitcoin rather than sell it. But if they're, not making up the money to actually facilitate the mining of Bitcoin, this sell pressure from miners is probably going to get a lot more aggressive. So let's play this clip, then we'll look at everything and we'll really summarize things.
Looking forward, rapid changes are taking place in the global monetary system that may affect the international role of the dollar in the future. Most major economies already have or are in the process of developing instant 24/7 payments. Our own FedNow service will be coming online in 2023. And in light of the tremendous growth in crypto assets and stablecoins, we are examining whether a U.S. central bank digital currency would improve upon what is an already safe and efficient domestic payment system. As our white paper on this topic notes, a U.S. CBDC could also potentially help maintain the dollar's international standing.
I mean, when did you guys think, I've been in crypto for 5 years now, when did you think you'd hear Jerome Powell talking about a white paper? The world is moving towards blockchain, guys. There's no doubt about that in my mind. And, you do have boom and bust cycles. We're also potentially looking at a larger business cycle. We've spoken about the NASDAQ. And how essentially, you've really just seen since Bitcoin's inception, very accommodating markets. The Nasdaq's essentially just gone up. Kind of reminds me of what happened from the 1990s all the way up to the dot-com boom. So I do think there's serious risk to the downside here still, even given where we're at. And certainly if the Nasdaq continues to spiral to the downside, crypto will not escape that. So we're very cautious. But the reason I play this clip is really hopefully to keep you guys paying attention to what's going on here. Because blockchain isn't going anywhere. Bitcoin isn't going anywhere. Neither is the cryptocurrency space. If it was going to disappear, it would have already, given everything that we've seen. You know, this has been a particularly harsh time for crypto. And I would argue, yes, okay, Bitcoin hit 17K yesterday. But it's actually not doing too bad when you look at it sort of linearly over a long-term time horizon. And we've often pulled up things like our 200 weekly moving average, like our long-term regression bands, and how these have historically held as support. This is a historically unprecedented time. So to compare what's happening today with other time periods, I think you're really only looking at one side of the story here. Yes, we're seeing a bit of a rally today, but that's natural after sort of the sell pressure that we've seen thus far. You know, it's very, very natural that you get some sort of a pullback. And like I say, Bitcoin yesterday hit $17,645. What happens over the coming weeks is going to be very, very telling. You know, we're still looking for a relief rally of sorts here, but those relief rallies have looked more like bear flags. And if we get a similar thing now in the coming weeks, you're going to see that continuation to the downside. In my opinion, this is a great buying opportunity. You know, there's always two sides of the coin. The market is really getting purified, I believe. And this is good. You know, this is what we kind of want to see. And it's part of any asset class's adoption. Think of how much deadwood there was in the .com boom. Basically, you had every single project just stick .com at the end of their names and launch a website. And then they'd be valued at billions of dollars. You know, similar thing happens with crypto. There's so many projects out there that are just absolute garbage, nothing more than really a white paper, and they've accumulated hundreds of millions in terms of value in regards to market cap. So the market is very much purifying itself. It always happens. This is from Gagavin, talking about Bitcoin dumping. A good guy to follow, actually, for the stock market. I've become quite a fan of his Twitter. And essentially, you know, he's essentially saying, look, this took place within 90 seconds. Hugely volatile. We had a trade on Ethereum this morning. I posted it on my Twitter. I closed. I mean, it was a trade. It was the easiest 36% I've ever made in my life. You know, it was literally a 5-minute trade that I had a very tight stop on, and we got out straight away. I don't want to be holding in these markets. I don't really necessarily even want to be trading these markets. I'll leave that to the scalpers because it's just so volatile. And we could see Bitcoin come off negatively by the end of the day, potentially. Not saying that's going to happen. Potentially looking, you know, we've ran key levels here. And also, you know, we've looked at this area as a level, given that it's previously... When you get these big voids in the charts, that's risky territory. But you can see there is some consolidation here. And for me, Bitcoin really needs to reclaim 20K to get some sort of a relief rally. My only concern is that given the sort of macro backdrop, you know, talking about Bitcoin miners, we pulled this tweet from Anthony Pompliano the other day. Bitcoin's price sits at the lower band of its production costs for the first time since March 2020. Liquidity crisis as well. The idea here is that Bitcoin should be at minimum worth the cost of energy to produce. So it's getting to the point, and it will be at that point now, by the way. This was when Bitcoin was at 20K, where a lot of your miners are actually becoming unprofitable. So they're going to be forced sellers now because they're going to have to keep the lights on. And the crashing price of Bitcoin exposes mining industry addicted to leverage. This is another thing you've got to remember with miners. Lots of their businesses would have been built on the back of loans. And those loans would have valued Bitcoin at a certain price, and they'll be in somewhat negative equity. So this is something, this I think is going to be an ongoing problem. Miner essentially capitulation, where, you know, we spoke about looking to get into the mining game, and this is something that I'm not excited about, but certainly keeping a close eye on, because if I can get miners cheap and I can do it without leverage and actually set up a mining facility, that'll definitely be an industry that I'll be looking to get into, as I do believe in the long-term vision of Bitcoin. And again, back to Jerome's statements. Did we ever think we'd hear Jerome Powell talking about a white paper, or Janet Yellen explaining what Bitcoin is? You know, this is the thing. The banking system has never actually had to innovate. It's very much had a monopoly for a long time, and cryptos have very much questioned that. And there's lots of speculation at the moment about whether these are coordinated attacks on the likes of Celsius and these other kind of semi-banks that have popped up out of the crypto space. And it could be the case. I have no evidence for that, so it's really just speculation. But it's a very interesting time to be alive, if nothing else. So hopefully you guys are all staying safe and sane out there. Again, we still think that there is definitely more potential for lower prices than there are higher prices over the coming months. That being said, that doesn't mean that we don't get some sort of a rally having ran key levels and a bit of an exhaustion of sell pressure. Could be quite foreseeable. Certainly given the pushback you've just had this morning, shows that there's very low liquidity right now. And that, you know, you are seeing buyers step in. I would argue probably a lot of traders are just trading this right now, very trader-driven markets, and does that lead to another sort of bear flag hanging sort of cliff ledge that we then plummet a little bit down to? You know, looking at maybe Bitcoin coming down, seeing a 15k Bitcoin isn't out of the realms of possibility. Not something we're hopeful for, but you know, you can't rule anything out in this market. And being an active investor, I see all these people on Twitter, some of them have got hundreds of thousands of followers, telling people not to look at their portfolios. That's not how investing should be, and that shows that you have basically just buried your head in the sands and not taken actions to, not taking any sort of risk management precautions, which we're trying to teach on this channel. That's all I've got for you in this video, guys. Hopefully you've enjoyed this one. If you have, a like is always appreciated, so it's a comment, and I'll catch you all in the next one, guys. Thanks a lot for watching, ladies and gents.